I mean, how many thousands of years have we all been conditioned not to go against the grain? And it has imprisoned us emotionally, spiritually. Where, you know, like, there are these freaking chains on us psychologically, freaking probably on every level. You know, some people still live in places where they literally still can't go against the norms because they will be persecuted. But you know, the majority of the world is actually free, yet these chains are still psychologically entrapping us in this slave dynamic. And this is what I really wanted to freaking talk about, because I was watching the Moses show and all the stuff that he went through, and freaking the Israelites and everything, and it is still happening today with the entire world, where the entire world is like the Israelites. We have been conditioned to a certain level of slavery, normal society, which is really entrapment. It is chained to a certain way of being and just not being able to get out of it, being chained in every freaking metaphorically sense of the word, of not being able to be self-sovereign. Which is this whole idea of escaping the matrix. It's escaping a certain level of slavery. We have been conditioned to a certain way of living, which makes you have to work at least fucking 5 days a week, all day long, in order to just survive. If that is not a level of slavery, I don't know what is. You watch Moses, that's on Netflix, and really have a think about where you fit in, like archetype-wise, where you fit in the story. And have a think about what God, the burning bush, star family, whatever you think Moses was talking to, I believe it's higher self, star family. They've been doing it for forever, sharing words. When the situation got just too fucked up, when the Pharaoh was just so fucked up, like the situation was fucked, and they had to, they kind of stepped in order to try and move that situation on a bit, like improve and share some wisdom in order to get people to see that this situation, you're being slaves, and if you actually united as a group, you could actually change the situation. But you've been conditioned in that situation for such a long time that you're not seeing clearly. You're not seeing that you actually have free will to say, no, I will not fucking be a slave any longer. That kind of thing. And that whole ruling class was just allowed free reign to become complete dicks in the way they were treating the other people like less, less, I don't even want to say like animals, because no one should treat an animal that way. And yet, they're treating each other, they're treating other humans that way. massive, like slavery on such a grand scale, you know, from, anyway, the comparisons for what's still going on today, it's exactly the same. And people are blind to the fact that they are effectively slaves still. Because, you know, it's like we've been given these little freedoms in order to make us think that we are free, but we're not. And, you know, that's been going on. It's like, what's that word, like, it's like slimy, you know, I can't think of the word right now, but like insidious. It's insidious, like, you know, like raising the taxes little bit by little bit by little bit, you know, changing the rules little bit by little bit by little bit, you know, it's like bringing in the fences slowly, and then all of a sudden you realize you're completely freaking fenced in as a fucking dairy cow. You know, like we can't get out. They made these fences, these barriers, you know, like we may be able to like see through them, but we can't get out of them. Like, you know, it is ridiculous. It is almost impossible to escape the matrix, to get out of this freaking economic money, having to have freaking worked, the rental trap, the freaking, even if you buy a home, you don't own the land, the taxes, it's just fucking never ending. You can't get anywhere. It's like you're working for nothing your entire life, and if doing something that you don't want to do, like working yourself into a grave, it's slavery. And we're conditioned to believe that we have to do it, that we want to do it. We've forgotten that we would actually like to do something else. We don't even know to think, what do I want to do? That there is another option. We are conditioned to believe that there is no other option. Just like the slaves, the Israelites. And, you know, like I feel like the same thing is happening again. That the Star family are like literally, alright, it's gone too far. We're stepping in again, and this is why so many messages are coming down again. So many, you know, people are having many downloads, and they're kind of stepping in a little bit to the pharaohs of today to say, you've gone too far. This is fucked. We're stepping in again, and also to try and assist us, the slaves, to fucking wake up to what is going on, to our free will, to say, no, we are all the Israelites, and we need to like step up and realize what the hell what situation we're in, and that we do have the power to stop it, you know, if we unite. And also, like, with the messages, like, I haven't got to the bit of the 10 Commandments yet, but I don't know them, like, off the top of my head or anything, because I'm not that religious, but, one of the, like, first things, like, the burning bush that God told, Moses was like, you shall not put any god before yourself. any other god. You shall not put any other god before yourself. And, you know, they took it as saying that is the one, like, you need to worship me, like that god, the burning bush is God, and you need to worship that and no one else. And it became like, you know, like further kind of solidified this religion, and that there was only one God, and their God is the most powerful, because, you know, all these special things happened at that time, which, you know, but it was misinterpreted. You shall not put any other God before yourself. You are the God. You know, like we are all gods. If you're self-sovereign, if you're a sovereign being, you're a God, a sovereign, a ruler of yourself. You shall not let anyone else rule you. You shall be the ruler of you. Yeah, that's what I feel like. I feel like it was misinterpreted because that was so institutionalized into having the pharaoh, having a leader that was so smothered in their slavery. They had to worship someone else. They had to have someone else lead them still. Even after they got out of the slavery environment, they still had to have someone tell them what to do or tell them how to be. And, you know, we're still in that situation today. We're still looking outside of ourselves to be led or to idolize others. And the message is coming in really clear again, like it was then, that you are all sovereign beings. Lead yourself. Remember what it is to be sovereign. Remember your true natures. And, you know, unite together, but be self-sovereign in that unity. And, you know, and I tell you what, like, it is so, what's that word again, insidious within our natures, because I think it's been going on for thousands and thousands of years, us being ruled over, or I guess some people ruling, looking, you know, down or whatever, like that nature that you have to rule or be ruled, like it sneaks up, like that kind of attitude, that mindset. It is literally insidious. It is in it's like a core thing, and it is really hard to overcome and be brave enough, because it does take this bravery to build the confidence, self-sovereignty within you, to say, I will not be ruled over. I am my own, like Messiah. I am my own God. I will decide what I want to do, and I will decide what feels right to me. I will make the rules of me. And I trust myself, because I know I'm a good person, that I can do that, and I don't have to worry, because I actually trust myself that I'm good, I'm godlike, that I am good, godly, holy. I'm a good person. I'm godlike, full of goodness. So I can trust myself. That I don't need to rely on anyone else. Like, I am capable, I am a good person, so I can rule myself. Yeah, like, you know, that kind of thing. I am empowered. I will not, I say no to being a slave. I say no to being dictated to. And I say no to others being dictated to. I'm ready to stand up and say no to this fucking insidious slavery system that we've still got going on today. I'm trying my hardest to freaking get out of it. And to inspire others to do the same, but it's not even that. It's just to inspire people to realize within themselves, to think for themselves, to feel for themselves, and to see clearly how manipulated and conditioned we've been as a species, as a group, in whatever country you're from, whatever race, whatever male, female. Has been it's a sneaky motherfucking thing that is the situation that we've got ourselves into, and none of us are happy. But it takes a lot to really see that clearly, because we don't know any other way. And so all this fear comes up, like you're going to get in trouble if you want to do something else. And literally everyone is like, what's that freaking syndrome when you get kidnapped? Everyone has been brainwashed. And so you will have everyone tell you that you're fucked up for changing, or to go against the grain, because immediately, like in this Moses show, even the leader of the Israelites wanted to stay being a slave because it was like too scary out in the desert, or what will happen, or we'll get more in trouble if we leave, or it's that kind of brainwashing that people want to stay being a slave because the unknown, like we've just been conditioned to accept it, or to be fearful of anything else, or to literally not even realize or know or imagine that there is another way. Intuition and courage, recipe for success, and being fierce, and taking you to the paradise, the land of milk and honey. And that paradise is within ourselves. It's self-sovereignty. It's realizing who you are, and having that strength within yourself. And like Moses was receiving the messages because he'd literally like broken out of the system he was put in. well, I'll say challenged society. Like in the show, I don't know, I guess that he killed one of the taskmasters because the taskmaster was beating the slave, and Moses, being a prince, he was a prince, and he saw the taskmaster beating a slave, which is normal for those days. But even as a prince, you know, you can't get much higher, you know. He could have ended up being a pharaoh, like. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, he went against his station and said, that's messed up, you're fucked. And he ended up killing the taskmaster because the taskmaster wouldn't stop beating the slave, type thing. And then, you know, he obviously was shocked at his behaviour and his reaction to that, and could not stand being in that situation anymore. And he didn't know where he fitted in. He didn't fit in as a prince. He didn't fit in as a slave. Like, so he ran and went to the desert, and like, he's like, what world am I living in when this is like so fucked? I've got nowhere to go. I have no place, no home, no, you know. And so he went to the desert, like, and started, I guess, like, realizing his own self-sovereignty before even, you know, in the show it was like he didn't actually, he was just winging it. And he, like, the show kind of shows a very, like, he didn't really know what was going on, you know, who knows really, but the show showed him not fully getting it, just kind of, if this, you know, talking to God stuff just started happening, and he's just like, I don't know, he was very like the whole time. But like, in actuality, it's kind of like if you look at it, he's developed some sort of, you know, strength of character to say no on such a grand scale of an injustice and an inhumane act. And, you know, yeah, he killed the guy, but, you know, maybe it was self-defense, who fucking knows. But and he's literally escaped the Matrix, and so he's obviously developed this, he's had this awakening of self and started hearing messages. And that's what's happened, like, that's what I feel like happens, like, 'cause that's what's like your intuition, your connection to self and your inner strength. It's like the chains literally break away, and it's like then you're open to receive, and you actually receive guidance. And so, like, that's what like happened to Moses, because he did escape the Matrix, and he was looking inside and wanting to understand more, and you know, he wanted to like make a difference and fit in and figure himself out, like, what is this world and where do I fit in? And he went looking, you know, within himself and everything, and he was, you know, contacted, and you know, the message was to him was like to show them, tell them, like, show them your way, show them the way, show them your way. And then, you know, it ended up, you know, being like literally just go save them from their slavery and move them somewhere else. And I think that's where it got a little bit mixed up, but I'll have to watch the end of the show. But miscommunication or misinterpretation, because really the big thing is showing the way to the self-sovereignty, show the way to the self-realization, show the way to seeing the bigger picture, like what is going on, and your own inner power. You know, that's showing the way so everyone can release their chains. Because then, like in the show with the Israelites leaving, they still all had this mentality of slavery, so they still needed a leader to show them what to do. They still were in the slavery mindset. So that whole thing just kept continuing, I think. And to this day, we're all still in that same mindset, because it's just been rife all over the world with dictators everywhere. And you know, forever they've been very clever about it, of giving, you know, the lower class just enough freedoms. Lower class, the slaves, the ones that do the hard labour, manual labour, just enough freedoms to think they're actually free, living their own life, like. But yeah, no. You know, because whenever anyone went against, you know, they were cut down, they were wiped out. You know, all the free thinkers constantly, you know, over the years, the free thinkers, the freedom fighters, anyone that made any ripples were taken out pretty fucking quickly. And, you know, all that fear was instilled throughout society, all the societies, you know, it doesn't matter where you are. Like in China, like they wiped out so many of the Tibetans, I think. Like, and I don't even really get into this stuff, but you think about it, like England wiped out so many Scottish, you know, the Highlanders, the pagans, you know, every freaking pagan or gypsy or native tribes. And they, you know, thinking of the native tribes all over the, you know, they have had to fight tooth and nail to hold on to their, the self-sovereignty within their culture, because they do have that. And that's where their connections to Earth and Star Family come from. That's where their power comes from, is that self-sovereignty and the open conduit to the Earth and the stars. That's where their magic is, and we all have that. And you know, but even then, they're all been wiped out. The Spanish came in and wiped out, you know, the Mayans and that entire like culture, pretty much. You know, the American Indians, the Australian Aborigines, because they wouldn't bow down. They were self-sovereign beings, and they would, you know, yeah. And yeah, the shitty thing is that, you know, the majority of the people that are even doing this wiping out, like the taskmasters, the ones that weren't the ruling class, but they're the ones in between that were given more rights than the slaves. They were given some responsibilities, and, you know, they were more of the higher class. They're just as trapped in their little, in their archetype. They're still a slave to the system, trapped in there. They're not getting anywhere else. You know, they're constantly hammered with the idea of moving down a notch. So they fight tooth and nail to stay here. And in order to do that, they have to literally make this gap as big as they can, so they hammer the ones underneath them. And so that's what they're kind of given the task, to keep that line as fucking thick and immovable as they can. So these ones, you know, not the ruling class, but the ones cracking the whip, so to speak, are more mentally freaking screwed it in to keep themselves above that line and to see themselves as above of all the people below them. And so they're majorly brainwashed in order for these people up here to have a buffering layer of all these group of taskmasters to do the dirty work and to keep that fucking line in place. And these ones up here really instill this, you're better than these ones, so their ego gets completely manipulated in order to think and believe and truly believe that they are above the majority of the population, and to do terrible things to keep that line in place. That's how twisted their programming has been compared to, you know, the ones underneath who have just been hammered and, you know, we're the slaves and have to work. These ones here have been completely fucked over mentally in thinking that other humans are less than, like they're nothing. So these ones here are actually really fucked up, really fucked up. But saying that, both groups have been fucked over, you know, equally. These ones here are doing some really bad shit. These ones are copping a hell of a lot of bad shit. But both are trapped by the system, by these ones up here. And it's these ones here, our authority, our society runners, that have these really fully instilled beliefs about keeping order and all that, keeping the cycle going, that, you know, for them to change their beliefs is like, I don't know, hey. Extremely toxic layer, that one. And that gives these ones up here an extremely good buffer zone. Because that ego that these people, the taskmaster, that ego that is controlling them to keep them there, their ego is almost, that is extremely rigid. Because they feel like they've got the most to lose, because if they go from here to here, there's nothing, you know, for them there's nothing worse than being knocked down a level and being one of the common people or the slaves, you know. So for them, letting go of that ego surrounding their betterness. Yeah, I don't know. Hey? And this is why, you know, the wars just keep going on and on and on. It's the same old bullshit, another day, same old shit. Exactly the same. And it's ridiculous. Yeah. And I think it's the same with the whole man-woman thing as well. Like this whole men versus women thing, it's just been instilled in us to keep us separated, and so much of it is just like to keep them busy so they don't actually think. If we keep them so busy and at each other's throats that, you know, they won't have time to think and look at what's really going on. They won't have time to feel and think about what they actually feel is right within themselves. So we'll just keep telling them what's right, and we'll keep them busy and at war with themselves. And we're still there. It's the same thousands of years later. It looks a bit different, but it's exactly the same situation, and that is so messed up, it's not even funny. But defy the norms, self-sovereignty, courage, grace, compassion, a lot of psilocybin. Yeah, courage, intuition. Think for yourself. Open the heart. Remember. Yeah. Whatever way you look at it, things have got to change. Like they did back then with that one group of people, like Moses and the Israelites. That is happening on worldwide scale these days. That is happening, and it has to happen, and we're all a part of it. So which archetype are you going to be? Like, if you've watched this Moses thing that I'm watching on Netflix, what archetype are you going to be? Are you going to be a leader like Moses and the group, leading them out to better days? Are you going to be the some of the Israelites were too afraid, that wanted to stay locked in the walls being a slave because it's just too scary, that change? Are you the fucking fucked up Pharaoh that just are you the taskmaster that's literally putting people down around you and keeping people under you, like abusing people and thinking of others as less than? How are you going through life? And yeah, shit. And how are we interpreting these messages? Like, let's try not to misinterpret these messages this time, and let's try to be strong enough to actually listen to them and hear them for what they are. Let's try to lead ourselves. Let's not look to others to lead us. We are strong enough to lead ourselves. Like, the message is that we are gods. We are self-sovereign true natures, and if we wake that up within ourselves, that's when our godlike natures, our gifts, our wisdoms and everything actually have room to come in. And that's when grand scale miracle, magical freaking, things can happen. The key is self-sovereignty. in a freedom of being you and trusting you to lead yourself, and being open from the heart, being a good person. It's like, think about what being a good person is and be a good person. What do you feel like a good person is? Are you a good person? Can you trust that you're a good person? I don't know, right? Like, if you're still, if you're constantly worrying about getting in trouble from someone, worrying about what others will think and adjusting your behaviour to make others, so you don't get like in trouble or told off or criticised by someone, you are being ruled by them effectively. They are controlling your life. And so if, like, step by step, little bit by little bit, we have to reprogram ourselves to just know that whatever we do is okay, and it doesn't matter what anyone else says, that you know yourself and you know you're good because you do good things and you're a good person, and you know, that kind of thing, the self-sovereignty thing. Yeah, I'll leave it there. Yeah, watch that series, hey, and just compare it to current days goings on, and you know, really big picture where we're at, because I just see so many of us are just trapped in a life that they think they're living, but really it's not nice. But we all really need to wake up to the things so we can actually, you know, then empower ourselves to step out of the slave role. Yeah.